For anyone that has watched a few of these episodes on this channel, you might have noticed something odd. One of these things is not like the other. This finger is missing one, clearly. And when I was born, I had a congenital birth defect of this middle finger. And I had it for practically all of my life, my working life. It was in 2006 that I finally decided to have something done about it. So what, 17 years ago, 18 years ago? But I'm limited in what I can do with this hand. As you see, I've got this index finger that really doesn't have a lot of flexibility to it. There are these, let me bring it in to you. I've got these growths under the skin, there, and also down here. And I'll bring in a close-up view of that and stick it up there. But when the specialist, which was like the third or fourth specialist that I finally was able to go to, that said, yeah, I know what we can do with this. But they removed the finger. The metacarpal bones, which you can see right here, I asked her, I said, are you going to just remove the entire metacarpal for that middle finger as well as the finger? And she says, no, we'll cut the metacarpal short down here. That might, if they'd have taken the whole thing out, it might have affected how the carpals work down here. So they left a little bit of it here and then took the finger out in the operation. And then they brought these three fingers together and stitched it, put a couple of pins through it, and that's how they corrected this. And the reason they brought this together, these fingers together, was because if I reach in your pocket to pull out some change, you haven't got a gap right here in the middle where things will fall through. But I don't have much luck bending that finger anyway. But getting back to this finger, these growths concerned the surgeon. She said, I know what I'm going to do with that middle finger, but we're going to do a biopsy here and here, and if that comes back as a problem, then we're going to be taking off two fingers, and that left me with just these two and a thumb. That'd have been a gap in my pocket. So we did the biopsy, and that came back negative, which it didn't bother me one way or the other. I mean, whether they took one or they took two. I'm kind of wishing now that they'd have taken that finger as well, because it is very in the way. I can't, make a fist. There's the extent of my fist right there. I guess it makes a good neck scratcher. But in the winter, this hand seems to get real cold. Even colder than this hand would. And I'm always aware of this hand. If you think about it, your hands right now, you're probably not even aware of them. Like this right hand of mine. When you're not actually focused on it, you're not thinking about it, you can't feel it. This hand is always in my mind. It has a interesting feel to it. And I think because of these calcium deposits that have grown up here, they've push those nerves, not to mention maybe some of the nerve damage that was done on the operation. But the best way I can describe how this feels, and really it feels like this all the time, painkillers are ineffective. But picture these three things. Take a pair of pliers and squeeze down on your fingernail with them. That combined with having your hand feel like it's extremely cold, like in the wintertime, you don't have a glove on the hand, how cold that gets. So take that coldness, that fingernail mashing sensation with a pair of pliers, and then if you were to take a knife and slit across your knuckle, that feeling, those three things combined is what this hand pretty much feels like all the time. Again, I wish there was some pills that I could take that would, make that go away. But for 17, 18 years, I've just learned that's life now. That's how this hand's going to feel. And, you could complain, you could sit and cry and moan, but what good is that? Nothing. I mean, people don't want to hear it, and you get tired of whining and crying, and then that becomes something that people associate you with. So this is just the way it is now. It's the new normal for this hand. And I did have one guy, and this hadn't been that long ago. He said to me, he said, wow, with that hand like that, he said, you ought to be getting a check every month. I said, a check every month? He says, yeah, don't you get some kind of government payment? It's like, what does the government have to do with this hand? You know, that's the hand I was dealt. But that's what I was given, and that's what I'm dealing with. So no, I don't need, nor do I desire to have a check from the government for something that's not their fault. It's just something that happened. You know, you live with what you have. But anyway, I wanted to take a little bit of time here, because I noticed in that last video that I did, I was holding up the Cheetos and stuff. You can definitely tell it there. You can see that something's not quite right there. And if you go back and take a look at the videos that I did of my sister, the across the table, Julie, it showed a lot of pictures of she and I when we were young. And if you look close, you can see that finger as it was back when I was a kid. And as I grew, you know, it grew. Your fingers, as the size of the fingers as a kid, are not the same size as they are as an adult. But anyway, I wanted to just spend a couple of minutes this morning and address that, because if any of you are like me, I look for weird stuff like that in videos. For example, right now, if I were you, I wouldn't be looking at me or this hand. I'd be back here reading these book titles. Okay, what kind of books does he have on the shelf? What kind of stuff do we have up there? You know, oh, here's something on World War II. Okay, but yeah, that's what I do. I observe and I look at all these videos. So anyway, that's all we got here from the lab. Have a good day.